we have FTX and Solana Ventures and another from Lightspeed putting 100 million into Web3 gaming. I believe it's a fund they're standing up. And what this says to me is, this is investment into a metaverse not controlled by Facebook, which I will swear to my dying day to never refer to as Meta. And the big announcement last week. So I think this is an interesting response. Obviously, Facebook has way more money than even FTX, and the investment that they're talking about here is small relative to the billions that Facebook is talking about. But I think that's one important way to look at it and think about it. Adam, I think you're probably up on the more financial side of this and token side of this. What do you take away?
Yeah, I think that, FTX has less money, but I think it has a much better multiplier, right? Feels like once you get to a certain point as a company, it just becomes really hard to do things that are new and innovative. And it's not going to stop, big companies from throwing lots of money at attempting to do that, but their success record isn't really, really good, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I think kind of that's the story here is that, what Facebook did by kind of making this pivot, to the extent that we ever call them Meta, is they made this real in a way that it wasn't before. So much of the stuff that has come as far as both blockchain gaming, but more so metaverses, more so this kind of concept of these sort of virtual worlds that kind of bridge between augmented reality and virtual reality and traditional reality and just looking at something on your screen like Second Life, right? Like that was very much a niche. And I think what Facebook did is they've made it so that people who have been reticent to kind of put money into it are no longer reticent to put money into it. Now it's obvious that it's going to be a thing. And as you said, it's a race to kind of get to that, killer application and the right way to actually enact it in the real world as fast as possible. Personally, I will not be betting on Facebook to be that first mover. And I think that we will see increasingly large players enter the space to attempt to compete with Facebook for what is shaping up to be, I think, a very big industry.
Yeah, I'll add. I mean, sorry, go for it, David.
No, Naomi, please.
I was actually going to ask Adam a question because you're fully into this gaming world. I mean, I love the idea of a lot of investment going into this industry because I definitely see that as the future. And I definitely see having non-fungible tokens, these scarce assets in the gaming world as being very useful. But also Web3 gaming. I mean, when we're talking about Web3, we're talking about this completely decentralized entity, which adds more friction. And one of the biggest things in gaming tends to be like latency issues. Like you want things to be quick. Like how is this, like, I presume a lot of the money going into this is going to be helping with that. So that's exciting to see. But how long do you think it's going to take to get to a stage in like Web3 gaming that's actually comparable to the amazing graphics and amazing latency we've got in the kind of Web2 world?
I kind of think you're looking at it backwards. And I think a lot of people have this perception. So like, if you look around kind of the Web3 space right now, as far as these games are concerned, typically what you're looking at are crypto companies or crypto first companies who are now getting into gaming or smaller gaming companies that became crypto companies and then kind of grew from there. I think that's the story with Axie. So if you look at kind of what Facebook really means, I think it means we're going to see metaverses from Epic, and we're going to see metaverses, for Fortnite. We're going to see metaverses, for every large brand that's out there. Call of Duty, an enormous franchise from Activision. Like I fully expect that to become a metaverse over the next 5 to 10 years. And I think that is kind of the thing that people are missing, is that it's not about what's happening now. It's about what this has catalyzed, not in the crypto space, but outside the crypto space. And that will necessarily use elements of blockchain. Now, it's important to note, I said elements of blockchain, because again, the way that we do things right now with games is really kind of this everything on the blockchain because it's possible. But when you're talking about the type of scale for something like Fortnite, it's just not going to work. Now, there will be blockchains out there that will try to thread this needle. I think Solana is likely to be one of those because they, again, rely on being so fast and having kind of a lot of throughput potential. And there are going to be a lot of blockchains out there, and there already are, that do that. But I think at the end of the day, it's likely that we'll see ownership layers being driven by blockchains and tokens. But games themselves will remain kind of the way that they are. Now, metaverses, as you get deeper into it, right, 5 years out, 10 years out, in the more experimental applications, I'm not saying that those aren't going to happen. I'm just saying I think the big kind of adoption moments are going to come from companies like Epic.
Yeah. And I think you've really nailed kind of one of the things that really worries me. And one of the things that at bottom is why I'm not a fan of the Facebook plan, which is you're saying, metaverses for Call of Duty, metaverses for Fortnite, metaverses for blah, blah, blah. And, I don't know how open those companies are going to be to the really key premise here, which is interoperability. And once you have those assets, I mean, you have something on the blockchain. The real killer app, so to speak, of the metaverse is that, for example, loot was like maybe proof of concept is too strong of a term, but like I don't know, thought experiment where you just put the asset out there and then the interpretation of that through the game itself can be different depending on where you are. And that I think is going to take a real mental shift for big legacy organizations, whether it's Facebook or Epic. And I'm not sure they're going to do it as fast as the companies that Solana and FTX are funding directly right now.
Yeah, no, you're totally right about that. Like I said, I think that there's a lot of different dimensions that we will see this kind of come into being. And I think that, it's not to say that crypto games aren't going to play a big role. I think that they are. I think it's a fundamentally different type of game than where we are, though.